Canadians felt a bit less pain when filling up at the pumps last month. Some eye-popping numbers on the rise of the price of food to fork from the latest inflation numbers.
Sylvain Charlebois is a professor and director of the Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University and joins us again this morning. Professor, glad you're here. I just read your op-ed about this here, and you lay out sort of why Canadians are paying so much more when it comes to food inflation here. I'd love you to try to explain this to our audience because it seems weird. You look at inflation at 1.7, but then food inflation is double that core number.
Yeah, absolutely. Our food inflation rate has actually tripled in the last 2 months. In the last 2 months, while in the U.S., their food inflation actually has dropped in April. So we have the highest food inflation rate within the G7 right now. So something is happening domestically. So of course you got meat products. Meat products are more expensive due to, of course, what's going on with the cattle industry. Less supply, essentially. So that's really North American. It's a North American phenomena. The avian flu has impacted poultry. Pork prices were impacted by China last year. Pork was actually cheap last year. Now it's on the rebound. So the meat counter, other than the meat counter, most categories were impacted by either tariffs or other policies that actually are making our industry less competitive, unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe you can elaborate on that, Professor Charlebois, about these internal policies rather than the external pressures that we're facing and kind of the lack of transparency, because I think a lot of people are scratching their heads thinking, when is the price going to go down? Is it ever going to go down? Is it going to continue to rise? What needs to be done here within our borders to make it more affordable?
Yeah, so let's start with counter tariffs. I've always believed that counter tariffs were a bad idea. Why? Because you're basically penalizing Canadian grocery shoppers here in Canada, and so Mark Carney actually changed all that back in April, on April 16th, in fact, during the election. And only Minister Champagne actually mentioned something verbally, and of course during an election, the focus is on the leader or on leaders. And so Mark Carney did not say a word, but tariffs actually dropped for the food industry. So if you're importing food from the U.S., you're not paying tariffs for most ingredients and products, which is, to be honest, good news. That was the thing that we needed to do. And Prime Minister Carney did that. So most tariffs were lifted on May 7th. That was a couple of weeks ago. So that's why April numbers are pretty high, but we are expecting May numbers to be much softer in June as well. So good news overall. Ottawa did made the right decision, but it was, people were caught by surprise. People didn't know about it. And Loblaw came forward with this announcement last week saying that the number of tariff products will increase significantly. And I don't know where that's coming from, because when you look at the facts at the border, it's the opposite. We're seeing fewer products being tariffed.
So what is the customer or consumer supposed to believe then when, you hear these two completely counterintuitive things?
Well, I think it's important for people to keep in mind that tariffs are being dropped, okay? And I think that Ottawa is looking at the long game right now versus the U.S. The United States, not only it has the largest economy in the world, it can absorb geopolitical shocks like tariffs. That's why their food inflation is actually dropping despite Donald Trump's recklessness at the border. But we can't afford to do that. There's no margin of error in Canada.
Yeah, very quickly, Sylvain, maybe you want to talk about the maple washing that's going on at some grocers, because people are really, rightfully so, feeling Canadian pride and want to support Canada. But this is going on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So if there's one thing consumers need to be looking for, is absolutely maple washing. Every day I get emails from Canadians telling me, my goodness, there's a maple leaf right next to a product not from Canada, and prices are increasing for products in Canada. Be on the lookout. Take pictures. Go to social media. Call grocers out as much as possible. That's what's needed right now to make sure that everyone comes out clean.
Yeah, hold them accountable indeed. Sylvain Charlebois, Agri-Food Professor, Director of the Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie. Appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much.
Thank you.